And you really see the friends of Syria because there is a one that's supporting Assad during the war, and during the war you also have the West that try to use the weakness of the Syrian government to try to overthrow Assad, which is not good. And like Assad is the president, like he won an election, he's the legitimate president, and like when the West is saying that they want to overthrow him for the people of Syria because he's a brutal dictator. So you still have the same question, like why they didn't know that he was a brutal dictator before the war, and before the war they were very close and they like Syria. Like that's very disturbing. Like they're using Syria when they are in the weakness, when they are weak, they're using the so-called moderate rebel to overthrow Assad. But but like it have nothing to do with the people of Syria or helping the Syrian population, because we know who are the rebel. And clearly the Assad government is much better than the rebel. The rebels, they are not secular. They do not believe in democracy. Like I don't trust them. Like I think Assad is the lesser two evil. I'm not saying he's good, but he's much better than the rebel. And by the way, like Assad is controlling 60 to 70% of the territory, and more than half of the territory, and 60 to 70% of the population, sorry, and the rebels are controlling like 5 to 10% of the territory and population. So clearly you see that the population in Syria, they don't want Assad to be overthrown. Like they like him, they support him. They don't want a revolution. So and you also see that the rebels, they have clearly have changed. Like at the beginning of the Syria war, I would have argued that they were moderate, that they supported democracy, and that they wanted to fight against corruption. And so yes, at this moment we could have a peaceful transition of power, but like right now they are not the same rebel. And as I've said, you really see who are the friend of Syria. They are the one who is supporting the government in the hardest time, because because right now, like the way they try to overthrow Assad, because you have a Shia crescent that is going to form if he won, and he already won. So like you will have Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. They will form a Shia crescent, which is considered as a threat to Israel, and a threat to Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia and Israel, they both hate Iran as they want to fight back against Iranian influence. And you even have like Hillary Clinton that was saying that she wanted to overthrow Assad for Israel. Like in the WikiLeaks file, you can see that she said that the goal was to help the Syrian people to overthrow Syria for Israel. So this have nothing to do with the people of Syria. They're lying when they say this is for the people of Syria. No, this is for Israel and Saudi Arabia, and um, and and that's not good. Like if Assad is gone, like you will have the same situation as in Libya right now, where Libya is a failed state. The same situation in Iraq after 2003, where Iraq was really in chaos, and also you didn't have terrorism in Iraq before Saddam was overthrown. So you really see what happened when you overthrow a leader of a country. Like you have chaos, you have a power vacuum, you have instability. So I think Bashar al-Assad have already won the war, and he have proven that he can defeat ISIS, even though you still have the West saying that he's a problem and that he cannot fight ISIS and that he's simulating his fight. Okay, so if he's pretend to fight ISIS, like I want him to actually fight ISIS, because if he pretend to fight ISIS, so he's really doing this very good, and I want to see him really fight ISIS. That means he will be even much stronger, knowing that like right now, if you pretend to fight ISIS, well, you have taken vast swath from ISIS, so I want to see this, like I want to see him really fight them, if he's not fighting them. But that's what he actually did, and he's been successful, and like he proven that that he's the one that can win the war, and he already won the war basically, and that is good. That is good though. Like I'm not saying he's good, but he's much more better than the rebel, and I don't trust the goal of the West, like helping so-called moderate rebel, which they are not moderate at this moment. So I want Assad to win, and I think he is a lesser to evil, and he already won, and like the West should get over it. Like that's too late. He won. Like what you gonna do? A no-fly zone for like the rebel in Damascus. Like that's over. He won the war. Just I can't take it anymore. Like this double standard. Like, and also there is not only with Bashar al-Assad. Like you had the same thing with Gaddafi in Libya. Like remember Nicolas Sarkozy? He invited Gaddafi and he even gave him 50 million for his presidential campaign. And then you have the West with France that decided to launch a military operation in Libya, which helped the rebel, and that just after you have the rebel that basically assassinate Gaddafi. Like you have a horrible video of Gaddafi being killed on YouTube, and like the West couldn't know before that Gaddafi was such a horrible dictator. Like you couldn't know before the war, or are you just kidding me? That's the same thing with Saddam. Like remember Saddam Hussein was allied with the West during the Iran-Iraq war. That was from 1980 to 1988, and they were allies each other. Like the US and the West, they gave weapons to Saddam. They even like the United States, like I think that they help Saddam to know where the Iranian troops were, like the latest weapon. So like you couldn't know that Saddam was such horrible dictator before 2001, before the 9/11 attack. Like I mean, you were his allies when he was when he was attacking the Iranian, and he even used a chemical weapon on Iranian civilian. Saddam did this, and like the West, they didn't say anything. Like when he was using chemical weapon against the Iranians, they didn't even protest. Like they only protest when this was against the Kurd, so they imposed a no-fly zone. But if you are our friends, you can do whatever you want. But if you are our enemy, or someone who slightly disagree with us, then we're gonna use the moment where you are at your most vulnerable moment, and then we're gonna overthrow you. Just I can't take it anymore, the double standard. Like that's the same thing that happened in Libya. Oh, look at this, Gaddafi is our friend. Oh, look at this, now there's a war. No, he's no longer our friend, he's an enemy. He's a brutal dictator, we have to overthrow him. We have to support the rebel. Same thing in Iraq and Syria. And like did we learn anything from this? Like the regime change in Libya and Iraq, that only bring more instability and more war and make the situation worse for the population that lives there. So just it just unbelievable that they still want to sell this propaganda against Assad. Like you had the same thing in Iraq, Libya, and like I can't take it anymore. We really see who are the friends of Syria and who aren't the friends. And the friends of Syria, that is basically the Russian and the Iranian. And yes, I want Assad to win, and I think he's already winning. He have retake Abu Kamal. Well, he's on the verge of retaking Abu Kamal because it is a very important city. So ISIS is defending the city very tough, and he control the majority of the country. And soon, like in 2-3 months, ISIS will be out of Iraq and Syria, and so you will have Assad only focus on the rebel, and I think he would very quickly defeat the rebel because as I've said, the people, they don't support the rebel. Like the West, they don't care that the people in Syria, they don't support the rebel. They give them a weapon anyway. Like they don't care about what the Syrians want. They don't care. What they want is it's for their own goal. It is for Israel, Saudi Arabia, and that's not for the people of Syria. Like they don't care about the people of Syria. I don't know if you know this, but when they say that they want a no-fly zone will require to kill a lot of Syrians, and that's not me saying that. That's Hillary Clinton that was saying this in a WikiLeaks email memo that was released. She said that a no-fly zone would require to kill thousands of Syrians. So they don't care about the Syrian civilian. Like that is a lie, and they continue to saying the same lie. Like you can't do the same thing. Like I don't trust you. I want Assad to win. I don't trust the rebel. I think that they are not trustworthy, and like they will be fighting between the different rebel group if Assad lost the war. That is the same thing that happened currently in Libya. Like you have all the rebel group that have taken over in Libya. Now they are all fighting each other, and you have tens of hundreds of militia that are fighting each other, and each of militia are controlling territory of Libya, and that's really a mess. And you have now ISIS in Libya. So just remember that when they're saying that we need a no-fly zone for the Syrian population, or we need to stop Assad massacre of population, and we need to support the rebel, that they don't care about the Syrian population. They just don't care. So that's all I have to say. And like I want the West to stop the propaganda against Assad. Like he is a legitimate leader in Syria. He won an election, whether you like it or not. He is supported by the majority of his population. And like that's all I have to say. Yes, just I think we should all stop the propaganda against Assad, and you should also see different media sources, like that can tell you different opinion, point of view about the Syrian war. Because if you're watching like the mainstream media like MSNBC, CNN, you will have the same thing that they're saying about Assad, that we need to take military action, that we need to stop the rebel, that we need to stop the regime. And that's not true. Like in the Aleppo battle, did you know, like the Aleppo is a majority Sunni city, and the government was able to retake Aleppo. Meanwhile Meanwhile, the West is saying that this is a sectarian war, and the regime, like they called, that there are only a Shia army. Well, guess what? They retake Aleppo, a majority Sunni city, and so that means that this is not a sectarian war at all. Like you have like some Christian that help the Syrian government. You have even some Jews that help the government. Like you have Zaredin, the guy that I did a video last time. Well, the guy, the Syrian commander, he was Druze. Like he wasn't a Shia. Like, and he still supported the government. So there is not a sectarian war. There is a war with Assad and his people against foreign mercenary, against invader, against foreign rebel backed by the by Saudi Arabia and Israel and the West. Like there is not Assad against his people. There is Assad with his people together against outside forces, and he's winning the war. And yes, that's all I have to say. Like, tell me what you think about this. I think we should all think about this, and even if you're from a neutral point of view, like you have to admit that the majority of the rebel right now, like you can trust them, you cannot trust them. Like in the Aleppo battle, by example, you even have al-Nusra, which is a Al-Qaeda branch in Syria. You have Nouri al-Zinki, which is like very close to Al-Qaeda. You have Ahrar al-Sham. Like you can trust them. Like if let's assume Assad is overthrown tomorrow, like guess what will happen? Like you will have the Christian, the Shia, and basically everyone in Syria that are not Sunni. That is very likely that they will be massacred by the rebel, that there will be a genocide, and basically Assad is the only one that is able to protect those people because he's a secular leader. Like he don't care about the face of his population. Just he want to help this population, and like I'm not saying that he's a good leader, but he's the lesser of two evil, and we have to support him in his like fight against terrorism. And I think like it is good that he's winning. Like if you see even the Kurd, like I don't trust the Kurd. Like when you have the Raqqa battle that ended, you have poster, you have picture of Abdullah Öcalan, which is a former PKK leader, which is a Kurdish movement in Turkey that basically use terrorist attack and terrorism to gain independence, and they are classified as a terrorist organization by the United States. And so you have the Kurd that is supporting these people. Like I mean, he's a terrorist. He's killing civilian. Like he want to get independence by doing terrorism basically. So even the Kurd that are supposedly democratic and that they're more moderate than the rebel, like even them I can't trust him. I cannot trust them. Look, so I don't know. Like that is very complicated in the Syria war. And if I was the president of the United States, I think I would just like withdraw my troops because like it doesn't make any sense what the US is doing in Syria. Like they have attacking ISIS, and in the same time they have attacked the Syrian government, which doesn't make any sense. Like you're attacking both sides in the same war. Why? Why are you doing this? That doesn't make any sense. And you even have the so-called moderate rebel that have attacked the US troop in northern Syria. And at one point, like you have the Syrian so-called moderate rebel that was screaming at the US troops in Syria that like they were pigs and stuff like that. Like I am not kidding. Like they really say this. You know, the so-called moderate rebel. Like I am not kidding. Like that is really unbelievable, and like we really see the real nature of the rebel. Like I'm gonna read you one of the so-called moderate rebel quote. So so this is an article from the Telegraph, and the article is called "American Commandos Forced to Run Away from U.S.-backed Syrian Rebel." So this is the quote. Christian and American have no place among us, shoots one man in the video. Quote, they want to wage a crusader war to occupy Syria, and you also have another quote, another man calls out, the collaborator of America are dogs and pigs, they wage a crusader war against Syrian and Islam. So just I can't take anymore, like the myths of the Syrian rebel, like they are not moderate, they are not even better than ISIS, like they have the same goal. Like in Syria, if you go in Syria, like the only place where you have Sharia law, it is between the so-called moderate rebel places and also the ISIS controlled territory. Like they have the same goals. They want Sharia law. Like the US have trying to arm moderate rebel that is going to fight ISIS and the Syrian government. And they were supposedly going to have thousands of Syrian moderate rebel that they were going to train. And you know how many rebels they get? You know how many? They only got 4 or 5 rebels. Like I am not kidding. That is really what happened. So you can't trust the rebel. Like you can't. That's just not possible. Like I don't trust them. And you see how they treat U.S. troops. Like they are not moderate. Like you can't trust them. I want them to be defeated. Like I don't want them to control Syria. Like I think Syria is a beautiful country, and what happened in Syria is very heartbreaking because in Syria it is like one of the oldest countries in the world. Damascus, the capital, it is like a 1,000 years city. So I'm just heartbreaking. Like I want the situation to come back like normal. Like, and I don't want the Syrian rebel because they have the same goal as ISIS. They want Sharia law. They're going to enslave Syria. They're not going to liberate Syria. Like very recently, you have some mortar, some rocket that was fired in the Ghouta, Damascus. So they just the so-called moderate rebels. They are killing civilians. Like they killing civilians for what? For a so-called revolution? Like no, you're not. You're just a stupid person, and you're never gonna win. And like I can't take it anymore. Like I don't trust you. I don't want the Syrian rebel to win. I don't want them to win. I think the Syrian government is the one that is going to defeat them, and like I want Syria to be a secular country, to be a country that is able to elect their leader without any foreign interference. Like I don't want the West to decide who should be leader in Syria or who shouldn't. Like that is a secular and sovereign country. Like the US shouldn't even be in Syria in the first place. Like Russia was invaded in Syria. They are in coordination with the Syrian government. So and the US coalition and the 60 led countries are not even accepted by Syria to be in Syria. Like they don't even ask for the Syrian government. They're just doing it. Like there's something called international law, and everybody have to respect this. So just if you want to be in Syria, at least ask to the Syrian government. Like they're just illegally in Syria, and even the US have even bought on the ground in Syria, like in Al-Tanf, Altanf. So this is a town in the desert of Syria, like in the south, in the middle of the desert, and you have troops in Syria. Why? Why do you have boots on the ground in a country where you have no business being to be in the first place? Like you shouldn't even be here. You don't have the authorization of the Syrian government. And what happened is the Syrian government, they want to attack the US troops after they defeating ISIS, because that's what will happen. Like they want to liberate their own country, and that is likely that they will attack the US troops. And like think about the inverse. Well, like what will happen if it was, I don't know, Iranian or Russian troops that was in Georgia, Atlanta? Like how would the US react? Would they just be like, oh, You are in my country without my authorization. Oh, well, that's fine. You know, that's not a problem that you're helping crazy people that is going to destroy the infrastructure, that is going to like cut the water supply. By the way, that's what the rebel did in Damascus. So that is completely and totally false, like the so-called moderate rebel. So what if the U.S. What if it happened in the U.S.? Like, do you think they will still be okay with that? Do you think they will be okay with that? With a foreign country entering illegally in their country to overthrow the government? Do you think they just will be okay with that? No, they will. Like they will be super angry as they will directly attack those invaders because that is what they are. Like if you are in a country illegally without the authorization of the sovereign government, then that is called an invasion. I'm sorry, that is the name of what is called. Like Syria have a seat in the United Nations. They are recognized like every other country. So you have to ask the Syrian government if you can be in their own country if you really want to respect international law. But the US don't care apparently about international law. If you are the US or the allies, then you can do whatever you want. But if you are a country that we don't like, then oh my God, you have to respect the international law. You have to respect international law. The Geneva Convention, the different treaty after the Second World War II. You have to. But except if you are our country or our friends, then you can do whatever the fuck you want. So that's all I have to say. It is because I was very angry about basically the propaganda that they say about Syria and the Russian government in Syria. You know that they're killing civilians, and I think they're killing civilians. True, that is true. But also you also have the rebel that is killing civilians. So if you say that the Russian, the Iranian, and the Syrian government are killing civilians, then you also have to say that the rebel are killing civilians. You also have to say that they are banning music and that they want to apply that they want to do Sharia law, that they are crazy people. Like don't lie about one side and saying that the other side is pure good, because that is not true. Like if you see who was a rebel, like no, that's not true. They're not moderate. Like you have Nouri al-Zarinki, which is a no, a so-called moderate rebel, even though they are not. You have a so-called moderate rebel that have beheaded a child. It is because he was accused of being supporting the government. Like I don't trust them. The Syrian rebels, they are not going to liberate Syria. They're going to enslave Syria and make it like the new Saudi Arabia. So so they are not moderate. Like we have to stop lying about ourselves. We have to tell the truth, and the truth is that they are not moderate. Like when the West is encouraging on Syria, like they don't ask to the Syrian population. They don't ask to a random people in I don't know, in Damascus. Like no, they're not. They're contacting those so-called moderate rebel, even though they are absolutely not moderate rebel, and they're asking oh well, what is happening in Syria, and they're not telling the truth. Like what they want is regime change, and all they do is lying. They're lying about Syria because they want regime change, and because to achieve their political goal. Like they don't care about the Syrian population. They don't care. They don't care at all. Like I don't trust you. I don't want the US to have a no-fly zone in Syria. I don't want the US to be even more involved. We shouldn't even be involved in the first place. Like you have to, you have to, you have to. If you want to be involved in Syria, you have to be aligned with the Syrian government. Alright? If you really want to fight ISIS, be aligned with the Syrian government. But to be fair, I don't think they even want to fight ISIS, because when the Syrian government was losing against ISIS before the Russian involvement in 2015, well, they were like they didn't do anything. Like they just letting the situation happen. Like the Syrian government was on the verge of totally collapsing against ISIS, and you have the US-led coalition that didn't do dick to support the Syrian government. To be fair, I think they rather have ISIS controlling Syria instead of the Syrian government. And so you really see who are the real friends of Syria. And this war is really showing who are the true friends. Remember when the Aleppo battle was in like on his peak, and you have Omran, like you know the little kids that everybody saw on TV, the little kid that was wounded, and he was sitting on an ambulance, and well, you this kid, yes. So you know who he's supporting. You know who his family is supporting. His family is supporting the Syrian government. They're supporting the Syrian government, but that the mainstream media won't tell you. The only thing that they will tell you is that the horrible big bad Assad regime have is responsible for this poor child to be like this. Even though this family is supporting the Assad government, they won't tell you this. They're gonna lie about Syria because because the goal, as I've said, is not to help the Syrian population. It is to enslave Syria and to make it like the new Saudi Arabia. Like you have a horrible situation in like Yemen where 7 million people are starving to death. Like where is the West outcry? Why they're not doing this in Yemen? Why they're not doing something for Libya after destroying Libya when Libya was basically one of the best country in Africa? Where is the US led coalition in Libya? I mean, in Libya you have two different governments. You have rebel, you have ISIS. I mean, that is basically like Syria. So where is the US led coalition? 60 country. Where are they? I mean, that is exactly the same as Syria. You have rebel, you have two government, you even have ISIS. That is like Syria. So why you don't have the US involved there? Why? Because they don't care about the civilian. Like the goal, if the goal in Libya was to help the Syrian, the population, sorry, then they would have overthrown the government, because now the situation is worse. There is worse for the population in Libya. Now you have Libya being a failed state, and there is the same thing that happened in Iraq. Remember when Bush saying that the Iraq war was to liberate the people, that was to free the people? Well, they're lying. They're lying. They make the people's life even worse, because you have a big humanitarian crisis. You have a million of people displaced. You have men that are now involved in the sex trade. Basically, the life of so many civilians are worse. And the same thing with what Clinton did, like with the sanction, because the Iraqi government wasn't respecting like the UN resolution. Well, how many kids was killed because of this? How many killed? How many kids? 500,000. And what's even worse is that you have Bill Clinton's Secretary of State, when we ask does the death of 500,000 child was worth it? Well, do you know what she say? Do you know what she say? She said yes. She basically say that. So that is sick. That is sick. Like, they don't care about civilians. They just don't care. They don't care. Like, there is the same bullshit argument that they're saying in Libya, in Iraq, and basically every country that they want to overthrow, to illegally oust. Like, no, they don't want. They don't want to liberate the people. The US is not launching war to liberate people, to free its people, to fight back against a horrible government. That's not true. Like, and they always saying that the same lie, and I just can't take it anymore. Like, we have to be awake, and we have to know when the government is lying to us. And when it's Syria, yes, they're lying to us in Syria, like they lie in Libya, like they lie in Iraq, and like they're lying on the Russia and Iran. So just stop it. Like, you have to stop this. Like, what do you think gonna happen if Assad is overthrown? Well, basically, you will have Syria turning into Al Qaeda stan. Like, you will have fighting in Damascus. You will have Al Nusra, which is the Al Qaeda branch in Syria. You will have them controlling Damascus. You will have an even worse humanitarian crisis. you will have massacre, basically genocide against the Alawite, which is Bashar al-Assad origin. This is where he's from, and like I don't trust the Syrian rebel. I want the government to win. They are the legitimate government. Like, stop trying to interfere in foreign country. I don't want this. I don't want my money to go to this. Like, you have to stop this. Like, even if you vote for the so-called moderate Democrat, well, it doesn't really change anything. Like, as I've said, Bill Clinton starved, is responsible for the deaths of 500,000 child in Iraq. So even him, even the Democrat, like Obama, like that's not like he was a peacekeeper in the overseas. Like, no, he wasn't. Like, he was super hawkish. He backed a Ukrainian the coup in Ukraine, which resulted in a civil war in Ukraine. He overthrew Libya, which made Libya a failed state. He did a lot of horrible stuff, and that's the same thing with Donald Trump. Like, did you know in Trump's first military raid, he killed 30 civilians, including an 8-year-old American girl, and he just don't care. Like, Obama repeatedly refused to approve this drone strike, and then when Trump was able to accept this, and he just do it. Like, they just ask him, and he say yes. Like, he wasn't even in the situation room. He don't care about civilian. He don't care. He just they don't care. They're just listening to the so-called like the general, even though the general often they are wrong. Like in Vietnam, they were totally dead wrong, and in Syria also they are dead wrong, and so I'm just feel ashamed that the US is doing this. Like, I don't want you to waste my name to to destroy other country. Like, I don't want my taxpayer to go to this. Like, I think we should only in we should only fight for defensive war. Like Donald Trump, that is what he was saying before getting elected. Like, he was saying that Germany should take care of the conflict in Ukraine, that we should let Russia in Syria because they're fighting ISIS, and we should let Assad in power because he's fighting ISIS. And he was very anti-interventionist. And at the beginning, I started to kinda like him. And then when he became in power, like he is now a super establishment like person, and he's doing the exact opposite of why he was elected. So I'm just super angry of this. Like, and also, like, remember Obama? He was saying that he is against dumb war. That he is against dumb war. Alright. So why did you continue the war in Afghanistan, where only 17% of the American people support this war? And they don't even want to say why the US is still in Afghanistan, because the situation is only getting worse. And if the US is withdrawing tomorrow, then you will have a Taliban insurgency, and basically they have zero gain in Afghanistan, and it has nothing to do with the population in the US. Like, the Taliban, they don't want to attack the US. They are not a threat. Like, okay, they are horrible people, but they are not going to attack the US. They're just not. That's not true. Like they're lying. Like, remember the video of Wesley Clark, the general, when he was saying that the US wanted to overthrow 7 countries in 5 years. Remember about this? Well, that is exactly what they're doing. Like, in the country that he said that the US wanted to overthrow, they were Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Sudan, Somalia, and Iran. So basically, that is what the US is doing. Like, they are overthrowing all of those countries. I mean, the US is not launching war for liberating people, liberation through bombing. Oh, thank you for destroying my country and make me a refugee, and make my country a failed state, even though it was like super great before. Oh, thank you, the West. I really like you, what you're doing for me and my family. You really are improving my life against this horrible dictatorial regime. No, that is not what they're saying. Like, if you go to the poll, like the majority of the people in the world, like so not the majority, but a large significant amount of people think that the US is the biggest threat to world peace. Like they're not viewing us as a peacekeeper. They're not viewing us as a positive way. And I'm just tired of wasting our money on unnecessary regime change. Like you have Obama, he gave a letter to Trump, and in this letter he said that basically that Trump should continue the U.S. empire, that American involvement in a foreign country was vital, and it was like super necessary. And like Obama, when he was campaign to be a anti-war candidate. Like he was against the Iraq war. He's saying that he wanted to end the war. Well, he didn't even at all end any war. He started more war. He started the war in Pakistan, Somalia, Libya, Syria, and Yemen. And even though that is totally unnecessary, like I don't think neither of the party they want they support peace basically. Like if you voted for Hillary, like she was very vocal in support of a no-fly zone, which would require tens of thousands of ground troops, and would require to basically shoot down Russian and Syrian plane, even though they're fighting ISIS and those crazy so-called moderate rebel. So that just break my heart that we are in this situation. Like and Donald Trump, he pretended to be anti-war. So even though he wasn't anti-war at all, that's why he attacked the Syrian government like the 4th April, and on the so-called basis that Assad was using chemical weapon. Even though he did not use chemical weapon, he was winning the war. So why would he use chemical weapon? It doesn't make any sense to me. So so I'm just done with this bullshit propaganda to regime change. Like we see the same result and the same thing happen. Like why this time will it be different in Syria? Why will it be different in Iran? Why will it be different in any other country that the US want to overthrow? Like I don't know, like Venezuela. Like they didn't even pretend that regime change have anything to do with the American people. They're just doing it. Like if you're asking to a politician in the US, like or a random people, like if you're asking, hey, why the US are currently in Yemen, like they won't tell you anything. Like the only thing that they will tell you is I don't know, defeating terrorism. I don't know, kind of. Like that's not true. Like yes, they are doing a drone strike and air strike, but if you want to defeat terrorism, like you don't kill 30 civilians in your first military raid like Donald Trump have did, because you're going to increase terrorism. You're going to help Al Qaeda in Yemen. That's what you're gonna do. You're not going to defeat terrorism. You're going to increase terrorism, and you're going to make it much more likely that the family of the people, of the civilians that are being killed, are joining terrorist organization. Like just stop lying. Like if you want really to fight terrorism, stop killing civilians. Don't target a school, like a hospital, like you did in Afghanistan, in Kunduz in like 2015, when they bombed an hospital for an hour, and the US knew that this was an hospital. They knew that this was an hospital, and they were saying that oh well, this hospital is controversial because they're there to help anyone that require help, whether it is a Taliban guy, whether it is a civilian. And the Taliban, like, they weren't threatening. They just wanted help. I'm not saying they're a good guy, but that's not like they had their gun and they're threatening the person like if they didn't wanted to help him. No, this is an hospital that help anybody. And you have civilians that are being killed for an hour, people that burning alive, and just the US knew that this was an hospital. There is not like whoops, sorry, we just killed 30 civilians in an hospital. Sorry, this wasn't expected. No, this was expected. They knew that if they target the hospital, they will have civilian killed. They knew that, and they don't care. They don't care because they said, oh well, some Taliban guy are in the hospital, even though there wasn't any Taliban guy. But even if there were any Taliban guy, you don't target an hospital, you don't target a wedding like you did in Yemen. You don't kill civilian. You know what? Because if you do that, you are the terrorist. You are not better than them. You are not better than them. You are just equal as them. Like the goal of the terrorist is basically to inspire fear by killing civilians. That is the same thing that the US is doing. Like remember, the US led coalition did a drone strike that killed over 200 civilians in Mosul, the second biggest city in Iraq when they are fighting the Battle of Mosul. And think about this: if the Russian if they did a drone strike that killed, I don't know, well, the same amount of people, 200 civilian, I don't know, I don't know, in somewhere like in Syria, like if they target 200 US soldier, do you think the US will just say, oh, that is fine, you just target our soldier that were training those so-called moderate rebels in south of Syria? That's fine, everything is good, bro. That's fine. We're just going to do if anything has happened, like if nothing had happened, sorry, no, they will be declaring an all-out war against them, and the American people would be terrified, and the world would condemn Russian imperialism. I can't take it anymore. We have to view our action as equal as if somebody else that we don't like was doing this. We need to think about us as a people, as people on the world, and not like superior or something like this. Like what do you think about this? Like, do you support Assad? Like, what do you think about the US foreign policy? Do you see? I'm very angry because they always saying the same thing, and they don't care about civilians. They don't care if they're killing civilians. They don't care if 500,000 child have been killed because of Bill Clinton sanction. They don't care if the US have killed 200 civilians in Mosul. They don't care if the US is doing sanction in Syria that are impacting the people of Syria. The people of Syria, the sanctions are not impacting the government, that are impacting the random people in Syria. Same thing with North Korea. The sanctions are not impacting the government, is impacting the people. So if you want to help the people, lift the sanction. You have to lift the sanction. You have to let people live. You have to you're just being human. Like why is it so complicated to just fight ISIS? Like everybody want to see them defeated. We have the Russian and you have the US, and why they just cannot ally together against ISIS? Like the US say that they want to fight ISIS, and the Russian also saying this. So why is it so complicated to fight ISIS together? Like we have the same goal, so why is it just so complicated? Because it is also like what happened after ISIS is defeated. Like, does it gonna be a Iranian backed rebel that is going to take over of the former ISIS territory? Like that is what really happened behind closed door, and we have also to acknowledge what is happening, and we have to stop doing if nothing happened. Like I care when the US is killing civilians. Like I really care. Like I think that is not tolerable. Like we have to do something, and unfortunately neither of both parties is anti-war. Like you have the Republicans that are supporting war, and basically everywhere and anywhere. Like they want to overthrow the Iranian government. They want to pull out of the Iranian nuclear deal, which will make a war with Iran inevitable, because you have to strike their nuclear site, and then you will have Iranian killed by thousands, maybe even millions of civilians that are being killed. There is basically like Fukushima in Japan multiplied by 10, and so you will have then Iran that is launching every weapon, every missile, every people that they have. They will be sending them to basically attacking every country in the Middle East, and so you will have a crazy war, and they don't care. Like you have Netanyahu that have saying that he he have saying that to the Obama administration to attack Iran. That was John Kerry, the Secretary of State, have saying very recently. Like he was saying that Netanyahu was urging him to attack Iran. So that is so stupid. Like, wake up, Netanyahu. If you attack Iran, or if the US attack Iran, do you really want to have your country being in a massive war and your civilian being killed on a war that you could avoid? Is it really what you want? I just can't take it anymore. You have to wake up each other, and we have to know what the US government is doing. Like, I don't want regime change in Syria, I don't want regime change in Libya. Every time we do regime change, it makes the situation worse for the people and for the country that the US is targeting. By example, like in Yugoslavia. In Yugoslavia, they did a no-fly zone, and it turns out then later it was a regime change. They did no-fly zone in Iraq. Later it turns out it was a regime change that happened. They did no-fly zone in Libya. They also have a regime change. And now they want to do a no-fly zone in Syria. Why? Why? You know what is going to happen. You know that it's going to kill massive number of civilians. You know the situation in Syria that is going to be worse. You know that the people are going to suffer. You know that you have nothing better that is coming out of outseeing President Assad. Nothing good will happen if Assad is over. So nothing good at all. Like, the situation will only getting worse. Like, we have to wake up. We have to wake up and realize that the government is lying to us. If they really want to help people, then they wouldn't have supported no-fly zone. They wouldn't have supported regime change, because doing this is not helping civilian. Like, it making the population and the life of civilian even worse. So we have to stop this, and we have to acknowledge that there is a problem. And yes, that is all that I have to say. I'm just tired of all the propaganda against Assad, and I know that after ISIS is defeated in Syria, you will have the same bullshit propaganda that they're going to say about Assad, because once ISIS is defeated in Syria, then they will want to overthrow Assad, because they know that if they overthrow Assad, right now they will have ISIS filling the vacuum, and they don't want this. So quote me later. So once ISIS is defeated in Syria, I'm telling you right now that they're going to ramp up the same bullshit propaganda about Syria that they did before. They're going to say that we need a no-fly zone, that we need to help the Syrian population, that we need to do something against the Syrian government massacre, even though they don't care at all about the Syrian population. Just no, it has nothing to do with the population. What they want to do is a no-fly zone. What they want to do is regime change, and it is not for the American people. Like, if you're asking to a random US citizen in like Oklahoma, you think he care about Bashar al-Assad, his future? You think he care about what is going to happen if we do a no-fly zone? Like, you think he care about the future of Syria? No, he don't care. He don't care. He don't want the US to even be involved in Syria. He wants the US to focus on them, to help the average American. Like, what the US is doing is not helping the average American. It is helping a foreign country for an corporation. Like, even in 2005, we had the US that wanted to overthrow Assad. Like that is crazy. Like, the US wanted to overthrow Bashar al-Assad since years before. Like, it was way before the Syria war. They waited for a good opportunity to overthrow Assad at the moment the country was at its weakest moment, and they doing everything they can to overthrow Assad. Like, by example, the US have shot down a Syrian plane under President Trump Like that is crazy. Like that is the first time the US overthrew a Syrian plane, and the Syrian plane was fighting ISIS. What are you doing? Like what what is the goal of this? Like I want ISIS to lose in Syria, obviously, and I want the Syrian government to win, and I think they are the only legitimate forces, and I think we should all we should stop this war against Syria. I mean, the US have dropped over 20,000 bombs in this country since January alone, and there is a war against Syria. You have more than 60 countries that are illegally in Syria without the Syrian government authorization, and they are doing a drone strike. They are attacking the Syrian government. They are in a foreign country, and they're creating something that is even worse for the population. Like if you see what happened, I don't want to say that Putin is a great guy and he's going to fix the situation in Syria, but I have to admit that that is true that before the Russian involvement in the Syrian war, like in September 2015, basically the Syrian government was losing against ISIS. They were losing everywhere and they were on the verge of collapsing. So isn't this is weird? Like you have 60 countries that are supposedly going to fight ISIS, but they're not helping the Syrian government against ISIS. So that's weird, no? Like you're saying, hey, we are in Syria to defeat the terrorists. Alright, so why you're not helping the Syrian government? Because they are the only forces with the Kurd that is able to defeat ISIS. So why you're not doing this? And so basically, since the Russian involvement, Assad have taken vast swaths of territory, and he really beat ISIS everywhere and anywhere in the territory, and that is good. That is very good, and as I've said that once ISIS is defeated, you will have the same bullshit propaganda that they're going to say for having a regime change in Syria. Even though Assad have won the war, he won the war, and he deserved to stay in power because he's the one that defeated ISIS. Like that is not the rebel. There is not like the Kurd. Like I don't trust the Kurd. I already told you. Like they have picture of Abdullah Öcalan, which is the former PKK leader, which is a terrorist organization according to the U.S. government, and I didn't see anything from the U.S. government to condemn the Kurd action towards the PKK. Like they are friendly to the PKK, and that is not acceptable. Like I think we shouldn't tolerate this anymore. Like Assad has won the war. Get over it. He won. He was he is the leader of a country, and you have like 30,000 people that join ISIS in Syria. Foreign people, foreign militants that have been in Syria, that have traveled to be in Syria. You have also thousands of rebels that are traveling to Syria. So like you have to admit that this is no longer a war between Syria and no, there is Assad with the Syrian people against outside forces, against outside back rebel. Like you have to admit this, and for the Syrian population, I don't want the Assad government to be overthrown. Like he is not this boogeyman, this awful dictator like they pretended him to be. Like if he was a person like this, so why you didn't know him that he was such a barbarous dictator? like before. I tell you, like Kerry have a dinner with Assad and his wife, and you have Hillary that was saying that he was a reformer, and you have Nicolas Sarkozy that invite him, the president of France, that invite him to the Elysee. So why you couldn't know that he was a brutal dictator before? Like they're just lying. Like they know that he was a brutal dictator. They profiting. They profiting that Syria is in a weak situation, and the Syrian government is in a very bad situation. So they're profiting of this moment to overthrow the Assad government, and so you really see who are the friends of Syria and who aren't. So yeah, that's what I have to say. Like, tell me what you think. Like, every comment is I'm open to every comment as long as this is something constructive. And yes, that's what I have to say. I hope you liked my video. Tell me what you think about the situation. Who do you support? What do you think is going to happen once the Syrian government have beat ISIS? Do you think the rebels still can win? Yeah, tell me what you think.